Kia ora everyone, and welcome back to the channel and to the long-awaited tutorial of the Time Garden Galaxy spread. We're going to be working in the Time Garden by Daria Song on this cute double page spread with a little girl staring at a sky full of stars. So when I first saw this page, I did not want to do it as illustrated because honestly colouring all those stars just seemed like a nightmare to me. So instead I decided this would be the perfect page to attempt to paint a galaxy on. I originally started this in September for Space Timber, however I didn't quite complete it during that time, so it's a bit late coming out for Space Timber, but hey, it's still coming out. Now, in order to paint this galaxy, the very first thing I did was use some black acrylic paint and black out the entire background. So I started with a very small brush around the figure, and then I used a very large brush and painted over the entirety of the rest of the background. I did not secure the edges of my pages very well, and unfortunately I have some black overspill on the page behind, so just be aware of that. Now, after leaving the black acrylic to fully dry, I came in with a mixture of dark blue, violet and white acrylic paints to start painting my galaxy. I was focusing on trying to get the colours to go from one corner to another, so to work right across the whole page, and I just started dotting these directly from the tubes on the page, focusing on keeping the purple and the blue towards the centre and the white towards the outside of the page. I then took a firm round brush and started stippling the colours. My goal here is not to fully mix these colours together, but to just start mixing them, but leaving definition between the two colours and work the three colours, and work these colours from corner to corner. There's no real specific shape here, I'm just letting the shape naturally form. I do have some reference images open of galaxies in front of me while I'm doing this, but there's no specific shape determined. The idea is to just create what are almost like cloud shapes. So I'm not blending every area, but I start blending some areas to form a little bit more cloud. After I've stippled the center area down, I then extend out the nebula in almost like spikes that drift off. I also bring in some more purple, some more blue, and some more white in order to define these shapes. Once I have stippled all the colours together, I then take a dry, clean brush and start using that to dry brush around the edges. The goal here is to blend out the edges to help fade the edge of the nebula into the background. So at certain points you'll see me even pick up some paint and then wipe it off the brush, trying to work with just the paint that's already on the page, and if I accidentally pick up too much, just wipe off any excess, so we get that nice soft feathery edge as it blends into the background. And so here I am starting to add in the white, and so I'm adding the white to the top of the cloud-like shapes to help really highlight those edges. I'm starting by focusing in the center of the nebula. This is where the light comes from the most, and we're working our way right through the nebula. So I would start by pulling some white on my brush, creating the really bright highlighted edge, and then using what's left on the brush to almost dry brush out the white. I am using absolutely no water in this process as well. All of this is being done with just the paint as is and the brush. There has been no water used here at all, because I'm trying to use almost a lot of dry brushing to help bleed the colors together. If you add water, you'll get a lot more smoother blending, but we want those different tones and textures and almost granular effect that you get from the dry brushing to represent the different various parts of the nebula. So yeah, I found it a lot easier to paint these just thinking of clouds, thinking of the shapes as clouds, looking at how the colours are blended on my page, and just thinking of them as clouds. I also use the purple with a bit of white to bring in some lighter purples if I want to pull in some highlights but not as intensely as the white. I don't use a lot of the dark blue, but in future I think it would be fun to either do this with just the two colours and use black to bring in some darker shading to help make it pop, which I might have done. I genuinely can't remember. It has been over a month since I painted this. Or to use a different tone rather than the dark blue. I think maybe like a red or a pink could be quite fun to play with. So I would like to paint a galaxy again. And indeed there's even more spreads in the book like this that I could try painting another galaxy on. Now here at the top I am adding in a bright white section. This is, when you look at photos of galaxies, often the center is actually bringing in a lot of light. So I added in this really big bright white section to the center of my nebula here. And then I just start radiating out that white, following the cloud-like shapes. And I think this big section of white really helps bring it together. So I just keep going in and layering until I get the brightness of the white that I want. So just continuing to refine, define, highlight, recede. It's a lot of playing and just a lot of interpreting the brush strokes that are there and deciding where to add more highlights too. I use a little bit of the dark blue in the center just to deepen up the shadows. I really should have pulled out the black here though and really made those shadows pop. That would have made the contrast a lot more intense. I'm still very happy with it, but on reflection I would use black rather than the dark navy blue, which went more grey blue. So yeah, if you think of it like the blue and the purple is the body of the galaxy, but the white is our highlight. So just continuing to highlight, bringing out more and more tones. Because this is acrylic paint, it dries pretty quickly too, so as I bump around the page, when I go back to an area, usually by the time I go back it's dry, so I can add another layer on top. And making sure we're working corner to corner, covering the whole page with the galaxy. Right, this is where the real fun begins, because this is where we start adding stars. So this is the first time that I actually add some water to my page. I added some water to the white acrylic paint to make a more watered down white acrylic. It's still pretty firm, it's still got a bit of body, but it just flows a bit easier now. And I'm using this on my brush, loading my brush up with it, and then tapping off the brush to just add random splatter everywhere. I want a lot of stars all over the place. I also use the brush to add a couple of dots in myself in places where I feel like I could use more stars. I then take the same watered down white acrylic mixture that I used for the stars to do one final pass of highlighting on the center and various areas around the nebula. Just painting thin bright lines. It's almost like lightning lines, or the very edge of highlights of the cloud lines, just really bringing in that white highlight. I was struggling to get the contrast that I wanted, and that was because I did not use black in the center of the nebula. And just be aware, it is totally fine to paint over stars with these lines, or add more lines, add more stars on top of the lines, which you'll see me do as I bounce back and forth between adding stars and painting the lines. So after letting the paint dry for about a month due to the craziness of September, I then pulled out my Prismacolor pencils and started shading in the little illustration of the girl on the page. Now I'm not 100% sure of all the colors that I used. I know I used light peach and then possibly beige sienna, I think it might be, and a bit of like a violet or Parma violet to shade her skin, and then just like chocolate brown and dark brown to shade her hair. I know I used a lot of the fluoro pink in the hair tie and also in the dress itself, because I wanted to keep it quite simple and just this bright pop of pink, which was complementary to the galaxy but not the same as the galaxy. once I had shaded in the little figure, it was time to add my glitter. So I am using Mod Podge Extreme Glitter here, and this is where I made a mistake. So Mod Podge is, usually I apply this in just a thin layer over the top and it adds a beautiful sparkle, but I know with my Mod Podge matte I can actually apply it how I am here with a bit of texture, and it adds a bit of dimension, and I really like it, but it still dries clear, it's still fantastic. And so I thought it would be fun to apply all the glitter here with that same technique to also build some dimension in the sky around. I did not realize that by applying this thick coat of glitter that it wouldn't dry clear. I have put this image in the sun for a week to try and fully cure the Mod Podge Extreme Glitter, and it did cure a bit of it, but there's still some very prominent white areas that have not fully dried translucent. I don't know if that's due to a build-up of pigment, if because I was stippling with the brush it just hasn't set properly, or if it's just going to be white forever. So yeah, that was a little disappointing. I don't mind it. It looks like the galaxy is just extended beyond a bit more, but I'm also sad that we lost that expanse of black and a bit of the definition of the stars. So do keep that in mind if you choose to glitter over the top of your piece. But here is the final result. I am still very pleased with the outcome of the spread. I think it turned out really cute. I love the glitter and I had fun doing it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope this helps you also attempt to paint a galaxy. If you have any questions, please let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye!